Selling a home can be very stressful, but what happens when you add a divorce on top of it? Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Sloan, and this is the SloanSellsHomes.com open house on 55 KRC. Today we're going to talk about some pretty tough subjects. Selling a home during a divorce is extremely stressful for all parties. Joining me today to talk a little bit about this is Jason Phillabaum. He's an attorney with Yonas Rink. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I've worked with a lot of couples going through a divorce who then have to sell a home for whatever reason because they can't stay in the home. Financially, usually that's difficult for only one person.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit, where do you get started as far as people going through divorce and then needing to sell a home?
Well, you said it right. Divorce is very difficult. Sometimes I equate that it's almost as difficult as a loss of life, a death. You're basically going through one of the most traumatic experiences you have. So selling a home is already stressful. Now you add that on top of it. The first advice I give to any person going through a divorce is do not leave your home. You hear a lot of times where someone leaves the home to go rent while their other spouse stays in the home. Mm-hmm. That's the number one mistake you can make. My advice to anyone is always consult with an attorney before you leave the house. Because once you leave the house, you're essentially giving up all of your assets. You're giving up your most important asset, which is your home. Mm-hmm. And then not to mention the ramifications from a custody standpoint as well. So stay in the home is the most probably practical thing you can do.
I mean, that's difficult to stay in the home, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are occasions where someone may want to leave the home or have to leave the home. Mm-hmm. So then my next suggestion is make a recording of everything in the house. Every wall, every socket, every piece of property you have, because what will happen is at some point there's going to be an argument. That painting was sold 3 years ago. What are you talking about? We don't have it. And now you have a picture of that painting on the wall. Mm-hmm. Or you're trying to sell the home and then there's a material defect in the wall that's broken, it's leaking, and they're trying to say, well, that's been there for years, right, or that just happened, and then now all of a sudden you have a picture showing what the wall was like when you left the home. So I would, if you have to leave, you want to make a video and a picture document of everything in the home.
What if one spouse wants to stay in the home? I do see that quite often.
Yes, you want to consult with a realtor because you're going to have to do an analysis. You've got to take your fair market value minus what your mortgage is, mm-hmm, and then you have to add in what it would cost to sell. And that is the amount that you would then split. So let's say, for example, you have a $200,000 home, $150,000 mortgage, so there's $50,000 equity, and then you're going to advise me on what would it cost to sell that home. Mm-hmm. $10,000 maybe from commission or other things.
Right.
So there's really $40,000 equity.
Correct.
Then you would then split that. One spouse would take $20,000, the other one would keep the home. That can be done a couple different ways. It's pretty complicated as far as other assets offsetting, or the person staying in the home can then refinance that part out.
Each situation is completely different.
Correct.
You know, and I've worked with some spouses, and they're in the process of selling their home, and they chose me to sell their home, and the spouses aren't speaking to one another. So as the realtor, I'm the mediator,
right,
and the counselor. But it is really difficult because oftentimes I have to meet with the husband first, and then the wife separately. And if they're not communicating, it can be extremely stressful for everyone. So tell me, I know we can't talk about specific people or anything like that. What are some of the strangest things that you've seen as it relates to homes and divorce? And
one of the most strange situations, they call it bird nesting. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I don't think I have, but I know what a bird's nest is.
Yes. It's called bird nesting, and it's extremely rare because it's complicated, but essentially the kids stay in the home.
Okay.
And then the mother and father split. One comes in the house for 1 week, and the other one comes in for the other. There's a show on TV.
I think I was just saying, I think there's a show about that.
Yeah,
right.
It's the same type of concept where one will move in for a week, and then at the end of the week they move out to an apartment, and then the other one comes in for a week, and it gives stability to the children
for sure.
But that, I have found, only works in a temporary situation. If you're going through a divorce and neither one of you want to leave the home, but it's becoming too complicated to stay, mm-hmm, sometimes a bird nesting will actually help resolve that, because you're both coming in and out of the home and being able to figure out how to work together.
If you're going to go through the situation and you know that you can't either afford the home or you have a disagreement, your best advice is to contact an attorney.
Correct, absolutely. I mean, I would say if you think you need an attorney, you need an attorney.